Alright, welcome back to another Chart.js and React video. So from where we left off in the last video, the only thing I added here was a console.log on the context object. And I'm just going to open that up and show you what we got here. So this is our context object, and this is pretty important for customizing Chart.js, so it's at least worth a look um, for taking a look. As you can see here, the stroke style, like FFFFFF, that's the white that we put there. So I'm pretty sure at least if we change this to like blue and save that, um, then obviously we get the blue line and we see the stroke style has changed there as well. So all of your configuration, Chart.js provides a lot of like customizability, but when you start getting into the nitty gritty, you're going to want to go into this canvas object, and there's just a whole slew of um, things in here that you can tap into, hook onto, get data from. Right now, I'm just going to open up this $ chart.js just because I know how to navigate to the section that I want to talk about right now. It might be important for later. There's an easier way to get to it. Um, you would just go to the chart instance, but for right now, since I have this open, I'm just going to hop down the proto chain. And let's see. Um, or is that not what I want? Well, you know what? We'll just wait till we get there later. Um, you know what? It actually might just be this React object. Um, yeah, it might be a better idea to just wait till later, but this React internal instance, this has a proto object, and we should be able to get the refs from it. Um, Here, if we do ref, here we go, scopes, and then it would be this chart component, and then this. So here's our chart instance. There's a much easier way to get to it, but just to show you where the chart instance is at, basically what you would do is you would use a callback and you'd say, this chart instance, and it would bring you right here. But basically, everything in here is everything that you're going to be able to tap into for plugins and tap into for customizability. So we're going to be working with the options a lot for plugins. We're also going to be working with the legend for creating custom legends, tooltips for custom tooltips, you name it. If you go into the config object, you can get all your data. And then if you actually open up the proto chain for the data object, then um, let's see, maybe it's in datasets. Well, I can't find it right now, but I just can't remember off the top of my head. But there are just so many hidden methods inside Chart.js. It would really just be a good idea to take a look, get comfortable, because some of them just aren't well documented. Some of them you find out through Stack Overflow. Some of them you just find out through dumb luck. Um, and a lot of them are going to end up being useful. So I'll give you an example right now. You know what? I'm just going to keep that open because I kind of like how this is laid out here. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to be working with plugins. So sorry I waited 4 minutes in to tell you what we're going to be doing. But what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to open up a new terminal, and I have my React app running obviously, but I'm just going to do a yarn add, and I'm going to say chart.js plugin dash line height, one word, dash annotation, and just going to hit enter on that. And basically the way that this React library is going to work is if you import a plugin, um, for Chart.js, it's going to be added to the global scope as long as as long as it's a properly written plugin. You shouldn't have any problems with that. So what you should do is basically you just import the plugin, And then for this plugin in particular, you could take a look at the NPM page, but just since I know off the top of my head, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the options object, and I'm just going to put in line height annotation, and I'm just going to put shadow is true, just because I know kind of how this API works. And we'll take a look here, and we see we get lines all the way to the top of all of our data points. Obviously, you can change the colors for this. I put shadow equals true. So if you notice underneath all of the lines on the chart now, including these dashed lines, there's going to be a little bit of shadow with some blur on it. And this has an object here that you can tap into. So maybe instead of doing the default blur, you could do two. I think maybe color is one. So maybe we do blue. Let me take a look. That might be a little bit more visible. Well, anyway, that's not important. But the important part is it's very easy to add a plugin. As you can see, we did that pretty easily. So for instance, this one, you could just say always false, hover true, and then jump right into your app. Let's see here. Hover true. Let me open up the npm package. Should have had this open to begin with. Color, shadow true, shadow color, blur, offset, no dash. Always is true by default, hover is false by default. Line height annotation, that H needs to be capitalized, so that's why our changes aren't coming through. So let's see here. There we go. Now that's a little bit better. So now the line draws up to the top of our data set, and it just comes up to where it finishes, and it leaves room for the tooltip, which is kind of nice because sometimes the tooltip can get in the way, and depending on the color of your line, the color of your tooltip, maybe that's a problem. So I'll just keep this in here for right now. I don't like seeing those colors, the black lines, the black dash lines. So let's see. No dash is false. Is that how that works? No dash is true. I think that API documentation is a little bit off. That definitely says that the default is no dash true. Huh, there it goes. Anyway, so it doesn't come up all the way to the top. Maybe that's worth making a pull request or filing an issue on GitHub. But as we can see here, it was very easy to add this plugin, and obviously this is only going to work for line charts. So what if we got rid of this line chart and we decided to use a bar chart? Well, I mean, this plugin's not really going to be useful for us anymore, but we can create our own plugin, and I'll show you how to do that just on the fly. So I'm going to get the bar chart, and what I'm going to do is obviously, well, I don't know if it's obvious right now, but I don't think the data sets that we have are going to work, and I'm actually just going to get rid of these gradient colors. I'll just comment them out for now until we can gain our bearings here. So let me just go ahead and get a data set for bar chart. So let's see here, bar chart, and I'll just grab it in the inspector. I'll hit $0 dot canvas, or what is it, dot get context 2D dot canvas dot chart dot config. Maybe that'll work. No. Let's see. Dot canvas. Okay. Dot config. Maybe that should be in there. No. Let's get our context. All right. Let's see here. Here's the canvas. Data set is an empty object. maybe config is added in by the React Chart.js library, but what we should be able to do is hop down here. Coming up short. Let's see, is there a get dataset? See, here are some of those getters and setters I was talking about before. There's just so many, and this is just on the main instance. I mean, for instance, Scale has their own getters and setters too. So, you know, this one maybe not because it's a bar chart, but definitely for line charts, you can get like the exact pixels of your ticks and stuff, and that's how this plugin works. If we open up the GitHub repo for this plugin, whoa, that is huge. We'll take a look at this plugin. So it's just one file, it's very short. And we can see here it's setting the shadow. Right here it's drawing the line and doing some math and stuff. So right here, access, ticks as numbers. Um, and you can get like the ticks for your data sets as numbers. Or for instance, let's see here, x-axis, get pixel for tick. Pass in the tick index, and it'll give you the exact pixel spacing of that. And then you can grab the data set or the data set meta. So basically chart.get dataset meta, and you pass it an index, and then you just tap into the data object there. So there's a couple short examples for you. I am still struggling right now to get this data set. I guess it would just be easier for me to just write my own data set at this point. This is ridiculous. I thought this was going to be easier to do. With the React library, I definitely know how to do it through the dev tools. So maybe I'll just pause this, grab the data set, and then I'll come back. So what I ended up doing is I just came up to the React Chart.js 2 documentation. I selected this chart. I went to $ underscore underscore React internal instance, whatever that hash code is, and I came down to this chart instance from my ref, and what I'm just going to do here is I'm just going to store that as a global variable. I'll type out temp1, and we can see here that we get an array, and we get an array of data sets. So what I'll do is I'll just do copy temp1.array. So let's see if that works. No. Oh, wait, dot labels. Dot array. Dot labels, and we'll paste, and there they are. So I'll just come over here, and I'll put my labels in. And I don't have prettier working for me right now, so that kind of sucks. And then I will go ahead and grab my data sets. So let's see, dot data sets. And that's just an object, so let me grab the 0 index. Oops. Nope. Let's see here, of 0. I guess I'll just grab data, because that's all I'm really interested in. There we go. Alright, cool. I'll put that right here. Space that over. Wow, I guess I could have just done this without all that rigmarole. Sorry, you guys. So I guess this will be videos made. That's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. All right, cool. We'll come over to our app and failed prop top data. Oh, right, because we didn't pass anything into it. All right, cool. So now we have our data sets. So we'll take this bar component, and we'll just pass data into it, and this will just be this.state.data. And we're not really going to be messing with the options here because we could, and we could certainly have fun with it, but really the point of this video is going to be to make our own custom plugin. So how do we do that, right? Let's make our own custom plugin. So we'll do plugins as a prop. Plugins. This is going to be an object, and basically this object is the way it's going to work is Chart.js has an API for this. And let me just open up that documentation right now. So Chart.js, get started, and all the way down here at the bottom, they have this API, and that's the main API. But if you come over to plugins, basically it'll tell you right here that they have certain methods that you can hook into. So this is the core API. Now, keyword core, because like I said, there's a lot of hidden methods inside Chart.js that you can tap into. So these are all good. We're going to be using before init right now. So before the data set is drawn to the canvas, what we're going to do is define our plugin. So right now we're going to give it an ID, and I'm just going to call this curvature. And so basically what we're going to be doing is you see, whoops, you see that all of these bar charts have very square corners. Well, Chart.js actually, uh, amazingly, it's so customizable, but it doesn't give you a single way how to change the border radius of these curves of the bar charts. So if you wanted your bar charts to have a slight curve and not be boxy as hell, Chart.js doesn't give you a way to do that. So what you have to do is you have to define your own plugin. So what we'll say is before init, and we're going to pass it a function. This function is going to take in a chart, and it's also going to take in an easing for animation. I'll let you discover that on your own. But we're going to be using that chart instance for sure. So let me give myself some space here. This is going to be kind of a long example, so follow along, take breaks. But basically, we're just going to get started. So we're going to say that if chart.options.curvature isn't in play, then we're just going to bomb out because we don't need to be here. So basically, how that would work is we would have options, and in here we would define curvature. And I'm just going to put the number 5 for right now because we'll see later that this number is going to be defining our border radius. So what I'll do here is I'll just say that, well, actually what we should do is I believe we need to bring in the chart. So we're going to bring in chart from React Chart.js too. And let me actually grab some water. This is going on a little bit long, but we're going to finish up soon, I promise. Alright, I'm right back. And actually what we're going to do is this chart object, this component, is going to be deconstructed. So we're just going to put it in here with the bar. And we'll get back to our plugin here. So now that we have chart defined, we'll say chart.elements. So basically what we need to do is we need to take the default rectangle that Chart.js has and hop on the prototype chain and redefine its draw method. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to pass it in a function, an anonymous function. And we're going to, first of all, always going to need context. So we're going to say this dot underscore chart because remember, we're using an actual function call here. We're not using an arrow method, so this is locally scoped. So we're not using this chart component up, or this chart parameter up here. We're using a different chart key on a different chart property. So we're tapped into this lexical scope. So this underscore chart is how we're going to be able to access. And then we're just going to grab context right out of it. We're gonna call the next constant our view machine. So I'm just gonna say VM, and this is gonna be this dot underscore view. So basically, these are our two main important objects that we're gonna be working on. So we're gonna define just some dimensions. So left, right, bottom, top, and then we'll do sign X, and we'll do sign Y. We'll say, is the border skipped? And we're also going to put in radius. So we're just going to define all of these in line, and then we'll initialize them later. So right off the bat, we will initialize border radius as well, and we'll just say let border, or not border radius, border width and we'll take border width, and it's going to be the view machine's border width. So we want to take that into consideration because we need to know, what our offsets are. So we're going to set the radius here, and then we're going to say if the radius is large enough to cause drawing errors, and max radius is imposed. So what that means is we really can't have above 20 for our curvature. So we need to be able to handle that condition. So we're going to say the corner radius is going to be equal to the chart options for curvature. Curvature. Why do I not have autocomplete here? What's going on? Anyway, so we're going to say if corner radius is greater than 20, then we're just going to do a console.log, and we're going to say curvature of the rectangle can't be higher than 20. And then we're also just going to set that corner radius to 20. Oops, 20. There we go. So now that we've taken care of that, we need to see whether or not this is a horizontal bar chart or just a regular bar chart. So we can see here that Chart.js for the bar chart, we could have the regular one, and there is a way, yeah, here's the horizontal one, and basically that would just be horizontal bar would be the type. So keep that in mind. So we're just going to say if the view machine is not horizontal, so this is a getter that we're tapping into, the horizontal getter, we're going to say bar is vertical. And basically what we're going to say is, left is vm.x. So now we're going to start defining our dimensions. Subtract the width divided by 2. And then right is going to be vm.x plus vm.width divided by 2. The top is just going to be the y of the view, and then the bottom is going to be the view's base. So that's how Chart.js defines it, is just base. Sine of x, we're going to set to 1, and then sine of y is going to be, so basically we're going to see if the bottom is larger than the top, then it's going to be 1. Otherwise, it's going to be negative 1. So basically what that's saying is if the bottom of our chart, if that number is larger, if this base is larger, then we just need to invert the sine of y. It'll probably make sense later on. So we're going to say border skipped is going to be vm.border skipped, and this is going to be a Chart.js option that you can put in. And if it's not skipped or if it's undefined, we're just going to say bottom is going to be our border. Otherwise, excuse me, I'm just going to, sorry about that. Otherwise, our bar chart is horizontal, right? So horizontal. And what we'll have here is we're just going to have to define everything again, right? So this is going to be base. You know what? I'm just going to pause and I'm going to let you guys catch up because it's going on. So I went ahead and added this for our dimensions. And it came to my realization that I didn't tell you what we're going to be doing. Other than just doing the curvature, we're also going to be able to tap into a way of adding some sort of background to our bar chart. Sorry about that. Yeah, so anyways, if the border width exists, basically, then we need to account for that, right? So we'll just say canvas doesn't allow us to make a stroke inside the width, so we can adjust the sizes to fit if we're setting a stroke on the line. So this is just gonna how we're gonna need to operate if we're gonna be drawing our own rectangles. So, remember, we're basically redefining the rectangle for Chart.js. So we need to implement some of this stuff. And this is pretty much how Chart.js is gonna do it. So, don't think I'm reinventing the wheel here. But we're going to get our bar size, so we're just going to get the absolute numbers of the bottom and the left and right subtracted by each other. And we're going to take the border width, and that's going to be border width. If it's greater than the bar size, then we're going to just use the bar size. Otherwise, we're going to use the border width. We need to take in consideration if the user is going to provide a half stroke. So we're going to say half stroke is going to be border width over 2. And then basically what we're going to do here is we're going to adjust the border width when the bar top position is near vm.base. So 0, basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the border left, and it's going to be left plus, and we're going to take border skipped. So it could be bottom, right? Does not equal left. So we're going to take that. It's a Boolean, and if that's true, we're going to take the half stroke number. If it's false, or we're going to actually take the half stroke number plus the sign of x, so that's going to be 1 in our case, or it might be -1 if the conditions apply. Otherwise, we're just going to add 0 to it, and we're going to do the same for border right, and this is just going to be the inverse, right? So we'll do border skipped does not equal right. Then we're going to take the half stroke plus the sign of x. Otherwise, we're going to do 0. I'm just going to pause this because we're going to do the same thing for top and bottom. Alright, so I finished up border top and border bottom, and it's going to be the same thing with the half stroke, except you're going to use sign y instead of sign x. And then I added in some conditions here. So if it's not a vertical line, and basically what that means, if the border left isn't equal to the border right, then you're going to have a horizontal chart, because they should be equivalent unless unless it's turned on its side, basically. And the same is going to go for border top and border bottom. So if that is the case, we're going to take the top and set it to border top, and we're going to take the bottom and set it to border bottom, and then we'll do the same for left and right, just because we want to make sure that we're drawing the rectangle correctly. So now we can break out of here, and we can take our context, and we can tell it to begin path. So now we're going to start drawing on the context. We're going to say context dot fill style. So this is going to put a fill in there, and we're just going to take the view's background color. We don't want to set that in here. We just want to use whatever is defined. And we need to do the same for the stroke style. Remember, we looked at that before. So, thanks for entertaining me. We're also going to take the line width, and this is just going to be the border width that we defined earlier, and I believe that was in options. So, no, it's just the views border width. My bad. But yeah, so we'll take that border width there too, and we'll be able to draw that on. So now what we need to do is we need to draw the corners. So what we have here now is the corner points. So this is where this is where the plugin really starts kicking in, the 12th gear. So basically what we need to do is take it from bottom left to bottom right, and it's going to be a square, so kind of think of it in the way of like, we're going to take it clockwise, sorry. So it's going to be a square, so try to think of it as it's going to be 1, 2, and then we'll have 3, 4. So basically, we need to curve this one, and then curve that one, and then curve the bottom ones too. But this is how we're gonna need to be able to do it so that it's done correctly. So what we'll do is we'll just define our corners. So we'll take corners, and it's going to be a multi-dimensional array, and it's going to be left, bottom, left, top, right, top, and right, bottom. So that makes sense, right? So left bottom, left top, right, right bottom. We'll pop a semicolon on there, and what we need to do now is we need to find the first, or the starting corner with a fallback to the bottom. Fallback to the bottom. Alright. So we'll say the borders is, so we're just going to define these in an array so we can loop through them. We'll do bottom, left, top, right, borders. Sorry, put an S on there. And we're going to say that the starting corner is going to be borders.index of border skipped, comma 0. So we're going to take it from the border skipped all the way out. All right. So if the start corner is equal to -1, remember that is a possible scenario that we set up above. Then we're just going to take that start corner, and it's going to be equal to 0. Now we're going to start getting into the heart of how we're going to be drawing these borders and how we're going to be drawing the border radius. So I'm going to pause this real quick and write out some functions that we can use, and we can pass them in, and basically it's just going to help performance-wise. Alright, so what I did here is I rethought how I was going to do this, and we're just going to need this one function here. So it's going to be corner at. We're going to pass in the index, and we're going to do a little bit of computer science here to get the next index, and we're just going to use the modulus operator and say that it's always going to be the remainder divided by 4. So, basically we don't need to do any complicated math here. We can just rely on the modulus operator. So that's going to be pretty handy for us. Computer science coming in. Alright, so we're going to draw a rectangle from the start corner. And now we're starting to draw the rectangle. So, what we'll do is we'll take the corner, and we're going to take the corner at the 0. And what we're going to say is we're going to have width, height, x, y, next corner ID, and the next corner. And these are all going to be things that we need to define later on. Additionally, let me just do this. These are going to look a little weird, but we're going to take x of the top left, make that a capital L. We'll take x of top right, we'll take y of top left, and we'll take y of top right, And then we'll also do x of bottom left, x of bottom right, y of bottom left, and y of bottom right. And so now we need to tell the context. So remember that we started drawing our line up here. I'll put this in. Begin, draw line. So the way that the canvas is going to be drawing is it's going to just wait for our instructions. So wherever you leave it off, it's just going to be right there until you finish. So we're at the beginning, and now we need to move. We need to move the canvas, move the line that we're drawing. So we're going to say canvas or context dot move to. We're going to put corner of 0, and then we're going to say corner of 1. So basically, we want to take it from here to here, so from one corner to the next. And then we're just going to need to continue on, and so we'll say let I equals 1, while I is less than 4, so 4 corners. We'll iterate, and then we'll say the corner is going to be the corner at I. The next corner ID is going to be equal to I plus 1, so that's the next one. So we need to draw to the next one. So if the next corner ID equals 4, then next corner ID is 0, because we need to make a full rectangle, so we need to go back to the beginning. So what I'll do is I'll just scroll down a little here. So we're going to say that, the next corner is going to be corner at, and the next corner ID, and what we'll do is we're going to say the width is going to be equal to the corners of the second index and of the 0 index minus the corners of the first index and the 0 index. So basically, so what's that going to be? Right top? Is that what that's going to be? Yeah, right top. So that's how we're going to take it, and then we're going to move it to, I think, the left top. So that's going to be the width for us. Additionally, we're going to need the height. So we're going to get the corners of 0 of 1 minus the corners of 1 of 1. And we're going to say that the x is going to be corners of 1 of 0, and y is going to be corners of 1 of 1. So basically, these are going to be our max values. So this is our width, that's the space in between the 2 points, and this is our height, the space in between the 2 points. Our x is going to be the first most point, so bottom left. The y is going to be our topmost point, so right top. And then we're going to take the radius and we're going to set it equal to our corner radius for right now. So there's some issues that we need to take into account. So what we're going to do is fix the radius if it's too large. So if the radius is greater than the absolute height divided by 2, so basically if, let's say our height of our chart is only like 10 pixels or 10, yeah, I think it's pixels, then basically we need to kind of adjust for that, or else our curvature is going to look really weird. So we just kind of need to make sure that's accounted for. Alright, wow, this is going on a long time. I promise we're almost done. Alright, so then the radius is going to be basically the integer value, math.floor, of the absolute value of the height divided by 2. So that'll finish there. And I think I'm just going to stop talking so much and just bang this out. So if the radius is greater than the math absolute of width, so same thing that we were doing before, just on the x-plane, then we need to take the radius and math.floor, math, oh boy, absolute width divided by 2. Is there enough semicolons or parentheses here? Yeah, okay. Alright, so now, if the height is greater than 0, we can continue. So there's going to be a lot of stuff in here. So basically, negative values in a standard bar chart. So x of top left is going to be equal to x. X of top right is going to be x plus the width. So that's why we calculated that. Take y of the top left, and that is going to be the y plus the height. And then y of the top right is going to be the y plus the height. Then the x of the bottom left is going to be equal to x. X of the bottom right is going to be x plus the width. So you can see kind of in your mind how this is going to play out. Y of the bottom left is going to be equal to y, and then y of the bottom right is going to be equal to y, and that is a lowercase y. Alright, here is where it gets good. Now we're going to draw. So, this is what we've been waiting for, right? Alright, so we're going to say context.move to x of bottom left plus the radius, and y of the bottom left. We're going to take the context, we're going to move the line, we're going to move the line to x of the bottom right minus the radius. So basically we're taking in account of the radius and kind of negating it to y of the bottom right. So basically this is going to make a bottom radius for us. And how we're going to do that is we're going to take a pretty nifty context function. So we're going to do a quadratic curve 2, and we're going to take x of bottom right, y of bottom right, x of bottom right to y of bottom right minus the radius. So this is a kind of a complicated function. I recommend looking into the documentation if you want to know how this goes. You know, if you understand how the Bezier curves and the quadratic equation works, this is gonna snap in for you. Otherwise, just read the documentation and you'll be fine. You'll understand it in a couple of minutes. So we'll take the bottom right, or the top right of the x and the top right of the y, and we'll add the radius. So basically we're going to do this for all of them, right? We're going to do this quadratic curve 2 again. So copy that. And what we need to do in here is we're going to take x of the top right. We're going to take y of the top right. We're going to take x of the top right minus the radius. So negate that radius again, and then pass in the y of the top right to curve it out. We'll do ctx.line2. So you can kind of imagine that we're just moving this line piecewise, and every new value that we give it is a new place that the canvas is actually moving this line. So if you slowed it down, you could actually watch this happen. But, you know, that's, I guess, aside from the point. So we'll take x of the top left y of the top left, x of the top left, and then y of the top left plus the radius. So you might be thinking that you could do this in a loop. If you figure out a way to do it in a loop, please let me know. I would love to see it. I did not feel like figuring that out on my own. We'll take x of the bottom right, y of the bottom left, minus the radius. And then, we're going to do another quadratic curve here. So we'll do x of the bottom left, y of the bottom left, x of the bottom left, plus the radius, and y of the bottom left. Is that all four? Let me just get my ducks in a row here. Alright, so this is all if, for instance, it is a vertical chart, right? So now we have to basically do the same thing for the horizontal chart. So if the width is less than 0, I'm actually just going to paste this code in, and I'll let you pause it and take a look. It's basically the inverse of what we just did, and we're going to have another else condition here, so I'm just going to pause it, I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to paste it in. I'm not going to make you watch me type all that. Alright, so I'm going to take this else, and then this is going to be our last condition. This is if it's a positive value, and basically what we're going to do here is we're going to move the line, we're going to draw the curve, we're going to draw kind of a more complicated curve here, and then we're just going to continue onward until we hit all of them. So that is a lot right there. We're not done yet. Not done yet. What else do we need to do? We need to fill it, right? So we need to do context.fill, and if we'll take back into account of that border width. So if there's a border width, we'll do context.stroke, and we already set the stroke parameters above. So God, I hope that's right. I'm gonna hit save, and let's see here. If that else on 242 is not appreciated, oh, okay, that makes sense. Put it in the wrong place. So I'll take that. Oh, do I have too many brackets here? I'm a little bit worried about this. I think this needs to be moved up one bracket from the if. Move that up one bracket. And let me see here. I think that's going to work. I'll hit save. Border width is not defined. 99 not defined. What? Defined all of that. 99. Sin y is not defined. Did I spell it wrong? I did spell it wrong. Sin y. So we'll fix that. Hit save. It says border skipped is not defined on 124. I'm missing a P. So let me just fix that. Half stoke. How about half stroke? I'm half stoked right now. 157. Border. Oh, borders. And 210. I have a typo there. So let me take 210. And that needs to be a capital L. Alright, so I'll hit save. Let's see. Next corner is a sign, but it's never used. That's right, because of that dumb loop. Alright, let's see here. Cannot read property curvature of undefined. Oh, it should be chart.options, not option. Alright, so I had that right, but I did not have it right here on line 85. So I'll hit save there. And here we go. We have our curves. Oh, we have our curves. Oh my God, such pain Chart.js made us go through to get those curves. Can you imagine? Oh my God. But now you can publish this plugin to the NPM registry and you can set your curvature whenever you want. Look at that. Isn't that great? Now we have our curves. And it literally took all that. So, thanks. I'll show you how to publish it in the next video.